So today I want to speak to you about the truth regarding men, women, and modern day misconceptions about marriage. So I've had some internal fear talking about faith because I guess I'm scared a lot of people will hear faith or religion and sort of run in the other direction because I think a lot of people are sort of disconnecting from religion and the church in general. I think mainly because they can't really make sense of most of it. But yeah, I just want to talk to you about how I've struggled to share this part of my story because like I said, let's face it, mentioning religion or God can really make people run in the other direction. And I don't want people to run in the other direction when I speak to them. So, like for me, I often associated religion with nutcases. And I'm saying this because I'm saying this in the sense that, I grew up with religion and I am religious. So, I mean, just with me saying that, that means I'm a bit of a nutcase. Um, but like, or a Bible thumper, or all of those terms that, someone might use when they're describing someone who I'm not going to even say religious, because I think most of us would say we're religious, but sort of speaking out loud about their faith. I think, like, even myself, like, I love, 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 love Italy. I plan to go there this fall again. And I'm very fortunate in the sense that, I mean, I have a brother that lives there, and so it's always going to be a huge connection for me. But in planning to go there this year in 2025, I thought, man, it would be so nice to visit, specific cathedrals and where miracles happened, like Orvieto, for example, is a one small town in the area of Tuscany that would be amazing to visit. And I thought, maybe I should book through a tour a tour company because I'm not going to be driving and I didn't even know where to go and stuff like that. But then I thought, well, no, because that would mean I'd be around a bunch of Bible thumpers, or like, I'm just making it real. Like, I mean, I just don't like, I fear that we're not going to be, like-minded in many other ways. And I thought, this is crazy. I don't know. Like, I guess I'm just saying I need to figure this out. I really don't know what to think sometimes. So if I'm feeling this way, and I'm a therapist, like, I think a lot of other people must be feeling this way. So, I guess for me, how do I, and this is super important because if I'm someone who believes in, being genuine and not being one person online and a different person in my own home or in my office or whatever. Like, I want to be genuine. I want to be real. So, like, for me to stay authentic to my story and leave out this part of my life, I don't think I can do it because this part of my life, like my Roman Catholic upbringing, is what's shaped me for who I am today. If you're thinking whether or not to listen to this video or not, like, if you're somebody who's ever felt like faith plays a part of your life, but you don't know how to talk about it, or you've ever questioned how faith fits into your modern relationships, then I would say this video is definitely for you. I guess let me speak first about like why I feel faith like has this dual role. It feels both liberating and limiting to me. Like, my Catholic faith has given me so many tools to survive the hardest struggles. I've went through some pretty horrific times in losing family members, more than one. And I don't know what I would have done if I didn't believe in an afterlife and to know that, I will be with them someday again. That's huge. And the whole idea of practicing gratitude and forgiveness and having a practicing like praying, as a daily practice of mine. Like, it's really important to me. I pray for lots of things. Like, I think, when we're small, we just pray for everything we want in life, right? And even myself, I've had to like sort of like realize, okay, no, prayer is more about asking God for everything you want in your life. It's more about I pray for my clients, I pray for my family's health, I pray for others' health, I pray for people struck by war. I mean, there's no end to it, right? And I'm just thinking that's necessary. Like if people aren't praying for each other, then how are we supposed to get ahead of life? That's how I think. And I even pray for, you know, enemies, right? Like I don't like to think that I have an enemy, but even people that I've questioned over the years, or I questioned their morality at times, or I mean, that's where forgiveness comes in, right? And so, anyway, but even though I'm very committed to that, there's other times where it's religion and my faith has left me feeling disconnected in ways that I didn't expect, especially for a woman. And let me give you an example. Okay, so I was thinking of creating some sort of, well, okay, it first started when I felt okay, like I started attending mass again weekly and like during the summer. I don't exactly know why I was called to do that, but I was, and I started to do it, and I realized that there's a priest in our parish, in close proximity to me that I really liked. So I thought this is great, because we can, and I'm sure you've been there, that you've walked in a church and thinking, I'm going to make this a practice again. And then the priest or the pastor or whoever, you might see in front of you, like the sermon is just like, it's not helpful. Like, I mean, or they don't have that delivery that, you're sort of looking for, right? Or, I mean, let's be real. There are a lot of immigrant, at least in the Roman Catholic faith that come from different countries that are priests. And it's sometimes extremely difficult to understand their accent. And that's discouraging as well, right? We have to be honest. So, I started going back and then I thought, well, my goodness, you know what? Like I do have a busy life in many ways, but then there would be nice to give back to the church somehow, do something, and so I thought, well, maybe I can sort of talk to the priest and talk to him about, if you have, couples in that are coming to you saying, we need some help in our marriage and you don't feel like you can be of any help, then maybe, you can call on me. And I just thought, like, let's start a dialogue here. But then I have to be honest, I booked a meeting with him and I canceled. And okay, I didn't quite cancel, but that's a whole nother story. And then I thought, okay, we'll reschedule. And then I rescheduled, and then I found myself not wanting to go ahead with it. And I was like, okay, like this is my work. This is what I do. I teach people to reflect and ask, the deeper question, why is this happening? And it just like it kind of hit me like, can I really turn to a priest for wisdom, a man, when it comes to speaking to this person about marriage? And like even a pope, whether it's the pope or or a priest or a nun, like none of these people feel like I don't feel like they can fully understand me as a wife, a mother, and a woman living in modernity. I would say if I had to choose any of them, it would be at least a nun, because I mean, she's a woman and therefore we have at least that connection, but she's not a mother. She's not married. She's not raising children. And I mean, that's such a big part of, what it is to be a woman. And I mean, she could be a teacher. She could be amongst children. Look at Mother Teresa. I mean, I'm not saying that she doesn't know what it means to nurture, but I guess the responsibilities of being a wife and a mother and working, I mean, what home doesn't have a dual income nowadays? So it's really, it's like, seems, I don't know, unreachable in so many ways. So, this is where my faith feels both like a home and a puzzle. that I can't solve. So also like so I didn't reschedule with the priest because I thought I need to figure this out. So, the Catholic, this is the other thing. The Catholic faith has very strong views about being the controller of life in terms like what I mean, abortion, in vitro, and euthanasia. Now, on a very personal level, we needed to rely on in vitro for two of my three children. And I just like, to be honest, like this is like, I'm a very naive Catholic too. I don't think I was really brought up like my Catholicism classes sort of failed me in that way because I had no, like, to be completely honest, I did not even know that it was looked down upon or not acceptable in the Catholic faith to have IVF when we were going through that. I don't think it would have changed my decision at all because I look at my kids now and I think, what? Like, could I have said no to that? Excuse me. I mean, excuse me. And to think that that's God's will, that's a tough pill to swallow, unless there's some sort of like, I mean, the way it was explained to me at the time by the fertility doctors is that it was unexplained pregnancy. So could that have meant that I needed to dig further and further and further and conceive naturally? I don't know. Maybe. Did I take the easy way? The easy way, if anybody's been through fertility treatments, it's far from easy, right? But anyway, like that's a hard pill to swallow. So that's what I say. It's very puzzling to me. So, but the good, like, I like to think more of what faith does do for me, and like to experience gratitude every single day. Like, there's not a day that I don't think about how grateful I am for what I have. And I feel like I have a modest life. I don't have some amazing, what people might presume amazing life. Like for me, a normal day is a great day because that means I didn't hear of some severe illness. It means, a family member hasn't become, ill or I don't know. Like I just think like I'm, even though I'm sitting in the middle of winter right now in January in Manitoba in Canada, you know, there's still something very beautiful about what I see outside my window, right? Like, and that's always going to be the perspective that I'm going to take in life, no matter what. But on top of that, you got to realize I'm a therapist and I hear people pour out their pain, their shame, their regret every single day, except weekends. And, it's like being on the other side of a confessional, to be honest with you. It reminds me how privileged I am for them to be that vulnerable with me and trust me. But, in terms of religion and gratitude, how much I have to be grateful for when I hear their stories. And then forgiveness, for example, the way I see forgiveness is I have no problem forgiving people. And I don't know if that's a blessing, a grace, or whatever it is, but like I see how flawed I am. And like, who am I, to not forgive someone when I would only pray and hope and ask for the same thing because I'm completely flawed. So that means something is going to, I'm going to be hurting someone unintentionally. And to think that that person can't forgive me is a horrible thought for me. And then the other part for me is that I see Christ being in everyone and everything. So I can't hate a rock no more than I can hate my neighbor because I see Christ created that rock. Christ is in that rock and Christ is in everyone. That's how I see it. So I can't not forgive someone if I know, Christ is within that person as well. So, and also, okay, this is the key. Knowing God will forgive me no matter how badly I feel I failed has been the most liberating gift ever. I mean, and that's housed in the Catholic faith. It's taught me that joy doesn't come from my partner or my accomplishments. It comes from serving others, period. And finding grace in myself, like forgiving myself, for the wrongdoings I have done. Now why prayer matters. I mean, in the darkest times, it's been prayer that has got me through everything. Even when I didn't have the answers, I found so much strength in surrendering my fears to something greater than myself. And I really do feel that God has a divine plan for me and for everyone. I mean, often we don't understand. Most often we don't understand at all, but I accept whatever comes my way, no matter what. He has either created these events in my life or he's permitted them to happen for my greater good. And I may never understand what that is. Probably most of the time, I won't understand what that is in my lifetime. So, let's just go back quickly because I don't want to. I always think I don't know what people's attention span is here, but I just want to say one more thing about, the struggle that I've had being a woman in this, what I feel is a male dominated faith. Like I said, you have the Pope, you have the cardinals, you have the bishops, you have the priests. I mean, like, I don't know, there's nothing more like women. When we connect with another woman, we know that woman understands us, and it feels so isolating to try to, seek spiritual guidance as a woman sometimes. My mother-in-law is very faith-based and she's such a beautiful woman. And anyway, she attends weekly prayers. I think it's for mothers. It's a prayer group for mothers or something like that. I think they pray the rosary. I don't know exactly, but they pray the rosary. They pray for other people. I often ask her to pray for me. If you have time, I could use a little help, sort of thing. And it's very powerful. Like it's some things, even in regards to health of my family, what has come about is amazing for me, like what I've seen. So, but I think she mentioned one time that this man, like, or the priest or something, approached the women in the prayer group, and he said, I think it would be great if men could join this as well. And she could have told me, she's the most kind, compassionate, lovely woman. And I think she said, like, all the women just went like, what? Get their own prayer group sort of thing. And like, my point is that there's something powerful that women get together, when women get together in a group, like we read each other, right? Like we have that same energy. Like, so this is my problem. I don't think that I think this is why I'm having a problem making this meeting with this priest, because I'm like, I don't understand how he's going to get everything. Like, I just don't. And so, maybe I'm missing something and maybe you can help me along here, but I don't think they can understand what it's like to be a woman trying to balance faith, family, identity. Like I said, nuns might understand more so, but they aren't often accessible to lay people like me. And so it leaves me wondering, who do I turn to? Well, let's just bring it back to marriage and how this is, this so-called curse of indifferences can be used more like our secret weapon in marriages. And perhaps these differences between men and women can be what I would call the glue of the relationship. Because you got to realize when it comes to relationships, we don't connect through sameness, we connect through our differences. The differences between men and women complement each other and they complement each other beautifully. So the truth about men, women, and how these like indifferences is sort of like, I feel like media right now, social media, or they're just concentrating on how different the genders, I guess what I'm saying, the inherent differences that the two genders have, or what is better called maybe sex identity, is like it's real, but we don't need to change it. Like, for example, men don't need to be more emotionally expressive, and women don't need to do it all and be very, very functional and be in the do mode all the time. The beauty of the marriage instead lies in, to me, how men and women balance one another, not trying to turn one into the other. So, like, for example, women, if you need to get it all out, In other words, if you need to have this like ball session, where we're just crying, have it with a friend. I mean, or have it with a bot. No, I'm just kidding. Have it with your therapist. So, okay, let's just finish this off by saying, like, I feel the truth, like my truth about personal struggles in marriage. Like personally, for years, I expected my husband to meet me emotionally as another woman might be able to meet me emotionally, but that wasn't fair to him or to our relationship. And it's taken time for me to appreciate the strength that he has, and I decided to focus less on what I would love and let go of that. Like the romance novel, the everybody tells me what I should have in a marriage, for example. Like, okay, let me end here, but I should end here, but let me just mention one more thing. Another important point is I feel that there's been a real toll of the modern pressures on women. Women are, I feel more and more women are coming to me just burnt out. And they're burning out because they feel they have to be everything, a breadwinner, a homemaker, the perfect mom. And the more we do, like I said, do, and those never ending, checking off the boxes that we all seem to love to do, we're really disconnecting from our feminine energy. And we're losing sight of the beauty of what it means to be a woman. So in ending, let me just leave my final thoughts about faith. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be meaningful. I don't have all the answers. My faith doesn't solve every struggle that I have, but it does give me the tools to live with some sort of grace and purpose. Marriage works best when we honor our differences and not when we try to win every single argument and, or trying to make the other person more like us. The more I've stopped expecting my husband to think and feel like me, the more my marriage has grown. And like men and women are, I should say, meant to complement each other, not compete. So there's some power of letting women be women and men be men. And there's a lot of freedom in embracing who we are, whether that's as nurturers, providers, or something in between. So, I will continue to try to make sense of how faith fits into my life on most days. I'm sure I will. But what I've learned is that the struggle itself is part of the journey, if that's going to give you any hope. And maybe, just maybe, it's that struggle that God's grace works in the most wonderful ways. That when I'm struggling to understand, and when I know I have done wrong, I could have done the day so much better. I now tell myself this is really what life is meant to be. It's the dips and the valleys and the turns. And I think like a faith of being more like the side rails, that you hang on to, that like it's the strength of the riverbank that allows your life to continue flowing, if I could put it in that way. And without that structure, you would become placid, and stagnant and lifeless. And I don't want that. And I don't think you do either. Like, you have to think we were given this life for a reason. So I promise, okay, now I'm 30 minutes. Sorry, I went over, but like, let me know in the comments. I mean, I love to hear your story, and I hope you appreciated mine.